victory so red that the war's here. Never will it ever end me. I like ice, but you run on yourself, cause it was about war. 58 counties screaming for the mind. The war's coming forth, never with the disguise. Another A-bomb for you, it really was it. Shot medals in my vocabulary. Rolling with the punches, I'm roving and jumping. Dealing with the problems, I got to be coping. Making it fit, and I click just like a Lego. I'll be Casio, but you can be tangled from the FBI to the CIA. I'm clearing out the path and here to LA. I be from C-Town, kicking the roof there, ripping up the mic and way past sundown. As a world turn. As a world turn.
Been a little too long since we've been on here talking about some baseball, and we're finally back. And this episode going to be all about what do we expect, what do we want, what do we think the Guardians and all of its major league organizations will do this offseason, what we think has to happen, what we think should happen. Maybe we'll come on here every couple weeks, every month or so, and update all you fine people. But Tavin, I mean, not how you wanted the season to end, obviously, but I mean, the way the Dodgers are, let's talk about the World Series first. Congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers, and more specifically, Kike Hernandez. You finally get your parade, sir, but also especially Freddie Freeman, man, a guy that is impossible not to root for, gets World Series MVP after the season he's had with his health and the health of his son and the ups and downs of his playing during the season as well. I mean, a grand slam to win game one, a home run in game 2, 3, and 4, and then a massive hit in one of the most disastrous innings in baseball. And we can talk about that a little bit later. But considering that how well the Dodgers played, I'm content with the Guardians season because they would have gotten swept.
Right. Yeah, that was a great series. Obviously, I was rooting for the Dodgers 110%.
I was rooting for the Yankees.
Wow.
I hate to admit that, but I was.
As a Michigan fan, I hate the Yankees more than Ohio State. I hate them more than the Cowboys, me being a Giants fan. I hate them more than the Golden State Warriors. Probably all combined. So
that's big words coming from you. And hey, it's basketball season. We brought the basketball jersey out today.
Whoever the Yankees are playing, I'm on the other side 110%, even if it's Boston. I mean, that just goes to show you how much I hate the Yankees.
That's big coming from you.
Yeah,
Michigan Ohio State thing is huge.
Yeah, big. It was a good series though. Obviously, Freddie Freeman, one of the best performances I think we've seen in a long while. So something that I found very interesting, actually, and really, really, really freaking funny is the Dodgers scouting report. Did you see this? Did you see what come out about the Dodgers scouting report? About the Dodgers scouting report? And I can't make this up, even if I wanted to. But for the World Series, the Dodgers scouting report was literally to let the Yankees play baseball. That was it. That was all, because you saw, especially in that 5th inning, if you just let the Yankees play baseball, and they're going to commit self-inflicted wounds. You had the drop catch by Aaron Judge, and he's made that catch 10,000, if not 100,000 times. The one time he happens to drop it is in an elimination game in the World Series at home. You have the weird play, Volpe throwing to third. Jazz Chisholm's never played third base in his life, but he couldn't do much better with that. If you're Volpe, you can't spike that throw. And then, I mean, probably the most baffling one of them all, what is Garrett Cole thinking not covering first base? Crazy. I mean, speaking of Garrett Cole, he just got four-year
deal. That's interesting.
140 mil, something like that.
Well, originally Garrett Cole opted out of that deal because there was some sort of thing in his contract where there was an opt-out clause. He utilized that, and I think literally that came out 3 days ago. And then today he just said, actually, I'm going to stick with my 4-year, $114 million that I still have left to stay in pinstripes. So that's what he decided to do. But I mean, that 5th inning was a complete disaster. All 5 of those runs were unearned. They should have been out of that inning. And who knows? I mean, we could be talking about a 3-1 comeback in the World Series. Probably not with the way that the Dodgers were playing, but there was still more baseball to be played if that 5th inning wasn't as disastrous as it was. So you can sit here and say you felt like the Guardians threw their chances away against the New York Yankees. the Yankees are going to feel the exact same way about that series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. And considering how well the Dodgers played, even if the Guardians were to have made the World Series, yeah, it would have been lovely, but I mean, I don't think it would have gone well.
No, I mean, I think the Mets even would have beat. I think the Mets would have beat the Yankees too. So I mean, it seems like
with the way they played, Aaron Judge did not show up.
No, not at all. I mean, Soto, obviously, he was still that beast that he was. Giancarlo Stanton didn't do anything either, which is funny because Stanton plays us. It seems like every time he just plays us, he wakes up and then goes kind of not cold, but he comes back down. He's like the Giovanni Urshela. With our luck. I mean, those two guys they play us. They're all stars, and then they're still solid throughout the season. But they play us. They turn into Babe Ruth.
Well, let's stick with the big league club for a minute, start to get in sort of the offseason talk. Of course, baseball is now fully in the offseason. We've already seen a couple of trades, probably a pretty surprising one in Jorge Soler getting dealt to the Anaheim Angels from the Atlanta Braves. That was pretty surprising, but now the Anaheim Angels get someone to pair in the outfield with Mike Trout. If only Soler and Trout could both stay healthy, but that's a conversation for another day. Free agents for the Guardians. Or I should say Guardians players that have officially elected free agency. Obviously, this doesn't mean that they're gone. They can re-sign them back. But Shane Bieber, Alex Cobb, Matthew Boyd, and Austin Hedges. 3 out of the 4, I think we'll probably see re-sign. This is my belief and opinion, at least. Shane Bieber, which I'm a little iffy on if they re-sign him or not because I don't think he deserves it. He absolutely does, but this is the Guardians organization we're talking about.
Yeah.
Matthew Boyd, I think, could be a really cheap re-sign, and he pitched well for you.
Love that.
And then Austin Hedges. We've talked about this before. Doesn't bring much with the bat, but has exceptional defense behind the plate. But the thing that is invaluable that you're not just going to be able to go out in the free agent pool and find is that locker room guy, that glue guy in the locker room. That's Austin Hedges. I think they should re-sign him. Alex Cobb, I hate to say it because overall throughout his career, I've liked Alex Cobb. I thought he's been a really good pitcher. He's just at the tail end of his career. Maybe has a year, possibly 2 left in him, but Bieber, Boyd, and Hedges, I think those 3 need to be brought back.
Yeah, Bieber, obviously the big thing's money. Obviously we're literally the cheapest organization, it seems like, in all of sports. So we'll see if Paul Dolan's pockets run deep this offseason. But I obviously love to see Bieber back. Same with Matthew Boyd. I think he was awesome. Just late in the run, and he was the main reason why you made that playoff run. And then Austin Hedges.
And you won 90, and you won what? Almost 90 games, over 90 games without Shane Bieber in that rotation. So let's
in a hurt pitching staff and Matthew Boyd, and then you have Austin Hedges, who, I mean, I've said it. Bo Naylor did not play a good playoff series at all. He doesn't bring and much more on the offensive side, and he's way worse than Hedges defensively. I think Hedges, obviously, he's one of the worst hitters I've seen ever, but he is an all-star behind the plate. So
and an all-star locker room guy. If you would put together an all-star locker room glue guy team, Austin Hedges is my number 1 overall.
And he's on the cheaper side of things. So, I mean, I would bring it back at the end of the day. He makes the younger pitchers better, too. So, he brings great value to every side except the bat. So
I think 2 of these re-signs are absolutely no-brainers. Matthew Boyd and Austin Hedges are no-brainers. I would be shocked if they are not
Bieber,
on the Guardians roster.
The money is the only reason.
Bieber is a no-brainer for a talent reason. I mean, Boyd's a talent reason as well, but Boyd and Hedges are both going to be really cheap contracts.
They're going to be
cheaper. For an organization like the Guardians that, I mean, let's face it, they love to cut corners when it comes to spending money. Boyd and Hedges are absolutely 100% no-brainers. Shane Bieber is a no-brainer from a talent standpoint. Yeah, he's had a lot of injury problems, but I mean, he didn't give up a run until he. Yeah, they probably will. And obviously, Shane Bieber feels like he's going to be deserved a lot of money, but Bieber, I feel like, is a guy that, much like Jose Ramirez, wants to be here in Cleveland. At least that's the sentiment that I've got from everything I've read and just everything I've remembered about Shane Bieber and what he's said and his attitude in the past. It kind of is like a Donovan Mitchell or a Jose Ramirez attitude. I know Donovan Mitchell basketball. Cavs 7-0, by the way. But it's that, like, I want to be here sort of mentality. And I feel like Shane Bieber has that. I hope I'm not wrong because I love Shane Bieber and I'd love to see him back on this roster.
100%. I mean, the only other guy I kind of want to touch on is Cobb, and like you said, he's at the tail end of his career. And I mean, at the time we traded for him, I was really shaky on it. It's an older guy coming. He was banged up with ton of finger injuries,
It was
but
a desperation move.
right, and I didn't see anything I loved out of him, so I wouldn't bring him back. You have pitchers coming back from the IR. I mean, you got to bank on Gavin Williams being the guy that he once was, and you have younger guys coming up. So I don't see a reason to re-sign Cobb either.
Yeah,
Just get another
I
roster
really
spot.
don't. Yeah, I really don't either. Yeah, Bieber, Boyd, Hedges. I mean, I think you and I are in agreement. I want all three of those guys back.
100%.
I want absolutely all three of those guys back. Here's the one interesting point of contention that we should talk for a little bit about with the major league squad, and then we'll go on into the minor league system. And obviously, to any of our listeners or watchers out there, whatever you may be doing here, please put down how you would feel about this and where you feel like they should go. So first off, I want to touch on a couple of the free agents here that are available in Major League Baseball right now. And there are a ton of them right now. Obviously, the biggest one is going to be Juan Soto. Everyone is going to try to go after Juan Soto. And there were rumors that before he signed with the Yankees, the Guardians were going to be a potential spot for him. I think a lot of Guardians fans looked at that and said, I mean, come on, that's not really realistic. I don't even think it's realistic now. His payroll is way too high for what this team usually spends. If the Guardians bring in Juan Soto, I will be over the moon, but I will be shocked, and I'm not expecting it whatsoever. So I think we should just move on past that. Yeah, move on past that. One thing I do really like is Corbin Burns. If you're not going to re-sign Shane Bieber, go out and get yourself a guy like Corbin Burns. I think that could be cool. Or you could go get Blake Snell. Blake Snell, also a free agent this year. You could go get him. Alex Bregman is there, but they're not going to go get him because you already have Jose Ramirez at third base. Here's another pitcher I like, though, in Max Fried. Again, you could probably go out and get someone if you don't end up re-signing Bieber, because you obviously want to get that new ace within your rotation. Bibee, we think, is a good pitcher, but you and I both have the same sentiment that he's a 2, not a 1. And so giving a 1 to pair with Bibee, then you have a healthy Gavin Williams, as well as a couple other pitchers back there, Matthew Boyd there as well, and then you just fill in the 5th spot. The first guy, though, that comes up on the top 25 free agents of this offseason with a potential fit to the Guardians, according to MajorLeagueBaseball.com, is Anthony Santander. Well, he'd fill that right field spot. He would fill that right field spot where you were playing either Noel or Brennan, and I don't have a big problem with either of them. They both bring good attributes in their own ways. Anthony Santander, come on now.
He's got it all too. Like, he can hit and field, and that's something you don't really have out of both Will Brennan and Noel.
44 home runs, 102 RBIs, and an 814 OPS this season in Baltimore.
I like both Baltimore boys, you said. I like Burns a lot too. I mean, I looked at his contract deal. He's making 15,
Burns is a bona fide ace.
He's a former NL Cy Young winner, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yep.
And I mean, he's only making 15 mil, which is, it's a lot for us, but it's not insane, especially if you were to deal Naylor and you wouldn't bring him and Bieber back somehow. I think
we're going to talk about Naylor in a minute. So hold on that. Hold on.
You can talk about that in a minute. You can make a legitimate case for Burns, especially if you don't bring Bieber back. So
before we start talking about what free agents and stuff we want the Guardians to bring in, let's talk about sort of the positions that we have down on lock. First off, I got to do this awkwardly, but backwards hats off to both Andres Jimenez and Stephen Kwong. Both of them now 3-time Gold Glove winners, so happy for both of them. They got American League Gold Gloves at their respective positions. And I mean, let's just go through it. Let's start in the infield, which I think for the most part is set aside from first base, and we'll talk about that later. But I really don't see them signing any infield free agent. I've seen things here and there that Willy Adames might be a good fit, but I think at this point you got to let Rocchio take it and run.
Yeah, he showed he's the guy. I mean, in the playoffs, you were questioning the bat, and it came around. Fielding's obviously been there since he's got there, so I think you just got to keep him and Jimenez. They got a great relationship too, in the infield, so that helps a lot. So obviously Jose
at third. You know, right. Yeah, that's a big old no-brainer.
Your
Catcher is
MVP.
probably the only other wild card, and especially with the news coming out about David Fry, the fact that he's not going to be able to play the field until probably not next year, but the year after. And he couldn't field anyway because his elbow was messed up. But he's going to go through surgery to where he's not even going to be able to hit until I think at this point at least May. Which would be a little
time
bit.
Frame was like late April to early June, I saw. So
okay, yeah. So the Guardians can definitely hold their own without David Fry in that lineup, especially if they get a strong.
The only part that sucks about that, and I'll just jump in real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Is that now you kind of have to play Noel because David Fry is going to be in that DH spot all season, it seems like. And that's where I really wanted to throw Noel in because obviously I've said it a million times. He can't field really at all in right field. So that's really my only kind of gripe about that. But got to do what you got to do. And hopefully Noel just, gets a little better, gets somehow a little quicker, which I don't think will happen, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. We will see. Other than that, I'm scrolling through some of the other free agents that are out here on this list, and no one with a potential fit to the Guardians. I mean, you have a ton of really good pitchers on there. Max Scherzer, who's, come on, getting up there in age. I think Michael Wacha was on there, but I think he just signed with the Royals. Clay Holmes, if you somehow want to add even more to this bullpen, which I don't see them doing. Yusei Kikuchi is out there on the free agent market, a popular trade target for the Guardians that were kind of popping in and out.
Flaherty's a free agent too, right? Because I was eyeing him at the deadline. I think he's up.
Okay, wait. So let's continue with the whole Guardians position thing, right? Outfield, left field is set with Stephen Kwan, and center field is set with Lane Thomas. It's that right field position to which I think there are one of two guys that you would want to bring in from free agent market if you are going to test that market. And it's the aforementioned Anthony Santander, which I would prefer to the latter option, but the other guy is Teoscar Hernandez.
Yeah, either or. I mean, Teoscar, he won a World Series.
I would prefer Anthony Santander because I think he's on the younger side, possibly, maybe.
Yeah, I think he is. I think Teoscar's getting a little older. I think 33, 34, something around there.
Teoscar's 32. I just saw that. Santander's not much younger, but he is younger. He's 30.
Yeah, I mean, two guys. Teoscar, though, he has that experience. He just went to the World Series and won it. So I think a guy much like Hedges that can kind of jump in there and, give that veteran mentality and kind of guide this team because he knows what it takes to get there. So I'd like either or. Yeah. Obviously, Santander with the 44 home runs, he's been killing it. So it'd be great to have either one of them.
So before we start talking about what we want at the major league level, let's pivot to Josh Naylor. A lot of people have been talking about this guy is on the trade block. I don't even think that's a question at this point, especially after the postseason that he's had and some of the other talent that the Guardians have within the organization. Looking at you, Kyle, this definitely. It wouldn't shock me either way, it wouldn't shock me if Josh Naylor came back. He proved that he's a dynamite bat in the regular season. The postseason was really, really rough for him. Came through in a couple big moments later on in that Yankees series, but otherwise just ended up being a really rough postseason for Josh Naylor. Wouldn't be surprised if he came back. Wouldn't be surprised if he left to go elsewhere and was possibly traded. For who or for what? I have no idea. Not even going to try to predict. I haven't read anything, haven't seen anything. But, I mean, what do you do with a guy like Josh Naylor? Because here's the puzzle, right? So before you answer that, I'd like to bring him back too, but here's the puzzle. I think if you want to dive on into that free agent market and you have a guy in Kyle Manzardo who – had more postseason home runs than Josh Naylor. And I know it's only 1-0, but it's still more. The last I checked, 1 is bigger than 0. Yeah. And he's a double machine. When he played first base in his second stint coming up, he was not bad. He was not bad at all. And I know Josh Naylor's defense has significantly improved either. But here's my puzzle, right? I think if you bring back Josh Naylor, I don't think this team is going to go out and get like an Anthony Santander. If they are going to go out and get an Anthony Santander, you're probably going to have to trade Josh Naylor, or this is an organization that decides, let's spend a little bit more money because this team was really good. There's a lot of young pieces. We can make a much deeper run. And then they keep Naylor and they go with Santander. That's really bold to predict considering the organization that we root for. To me, the preferred move would be if you're going to want to have one or the other, whether it's Santander or whether it's Josh Naylor. It's a lot bigger of a risk if you trade Josh Naylor in hopes that Anthony Santander will go, because according to MLB.com, the Cardinals and Phillies are going to be other teams that get in on him, and Philadelphia is going to shell out all the money in the world to try to throw the bag at Anthony Santander, maybe replace Nick Castellanos or someone else, or maybe even add it to that outfield. But Anthony Santander is the one free agent that I'm looking at that would say, I want, like, gimme. Other free agents, like, yeah, it would be nice, especially a pitcher here and there. But Anthony Santander is the guy that, like, if you're bringing in a new free agent to this team, he's got to be that piece. Josh Naylor, it wouldn't surprise me if he got traded. It wouldn't surprise me if he came back. When whatever notification pops up on my phone, I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, okay, sounds about right.
So my thing is, it kind of goes back to the Hedges thing. It's Naylor's a clubhouse guy. Everybody loves him. And if you kind of trade him away, it breaks up a little bit of kind of what you have going for you, at least in my opinion. And I do think if you do that, then Bo's gone too. I mean, we'll obviously touch on it when we get to who do we want to bring in, but I don't think Bo Naylor's the answer at catcher. He's a serviceable backup. I think that, but he's not a starter. That's for sure.
We got to wait for Jacob Cozart or Cooper Ingle on that one.
Right. And
Cooper Ingle, especially.
Hedges isn't either. So, I mean, you're not going to have three catchers on the roster with Fry hurt. So I don't know. I think if one Naylor's gone, I think both of them are.
Yeah, and we were talking about this before we went live. Do you package them together in a trade, maybe?
Yeah.
I know the other Naylor brother is in Oakland, which, I mean, if you want to, because there are three Naylor brothers, for those of you not aware, yes, there is a third. I don't know what his first name is. All I know is that there's a third. And if Miles, that's it, right? And if you package Bo and Josh and you send them off to Oakland, I mean, you could get back Mason Miller. You could get back Shea Langley-Ayres if you want another catcher. You could get back Brent Rooker, who's an outfield piece. He would fill your right field spot. There's a ton of things. And I know
like
Oakland,
Lawrence
again,
Butler,
not the most. Yeah,
he's younger
Lawrence
too.
Butler.
He had 22 home runs on his rookie year, so I mean, he's going to be a beast. So maybe.
I don't know if Oakland would want to trade him. They might be more apt to trading Brent Rooker. And obviously, you can't trade draft picks in Major League Baseball. You can trade, of course, a ton of prospects, which I don't think the Guardians will do, unless they're going to be in like win now mode. But if you're in win now mode, there's no need to trade anything. Just go sign Anthony Santander, bring back Josh Naylor, open up the paychecks a little bit. Maybe if you can get lucky. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I would so much rather have a position player than a pitcher if you're going to test the big name free agent market. Because what I think, so let's start getting into what I think they should do, what we want them to do. Here is what I want the Guardians to do, what I absolutely want. I want the Guardians to bring everybody back. I want Josh Naylor back. That infield is set, reading it right to left with Naylor at first, Jimenez at second, Rocchio at short, and Ramirez at third. The outfield, obviously, Kwan, please throw money at him. Not that he's going anywhere now, but next year would be the year we talk about Stephen Kwan. And then why can't I think of the dude's name? Lane Thomas in center. Sorry, Lane. Apologies if you're somehow watching this. And then in right field, Anthony Santander. Bring him in. Or you could put Santander in center and move Lane to right. But I think the move would be you play Santander in right, because I'm pretty sure that's where he played in Baltimore. So you have Kwan, Thomas, and Santander. That's a pretty deadly outfield. And then I want to re-sign Shane Bieber on just an absolutely insane incentive deal. 1, maybe 2 years that is riddled with incentive after incentive. If you pitch 150 innings, here's a bonus for you. If you win at least 12 games, here's a bonus for you. Like throw all of the incentives in the world at Shane Bieber, I think it's unlikely that Bieber leaves. And I think it's even more unlikely that the Guardians add someone from this free agent pool. But if you're going to add anyone, I'd rather it be Anthony Santander than anyone else to fill that right field spot. You bring back Matthew Boyd, you bring back Austin Hedges, you bring back Shane Bieber, and then you roll with some of the young guys there as well, and bring back Josh Naylor as well. I don't think he's in a contract year or anything. He's just going to be a big trade conversation piece.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. Bring pretty much everybody back besides Cobb. I think that's the way you go. I want Bieber on, like you said, a 1 to 3 year deal if you really want to.
And
I'd
the
go
important
3
thing, the
just
important
if
thing,
he wants to stay.
The important thing, well, at that point, then you'd have to include
That
an
would get it
opt-out
done,
clause,
right.
and I'm kind of settling on that 2-year thing for Shane Bieber, and I think you have to riddle it with incentives because Shane Bieber knows what he's worth. That's the one thing I will say about Shane Bieber. He knows how good of a pitcher he is. He knows how good of a pitcher he can be. You look at the only 2 games he pitched this year, they were flawless. They were phenomenal. He was lights out. He was awesome. Shane Bieber knows what he's worth. You either have to sign him to a deal that's more than what he's worth right now, or you sign him to a less expensive deal, but you open up the paycheck a little bit in incentives, which I think is what they should do.
Right. And then free agency, you mentioned Santander. Obviously would like him. I think, like you said, the rest of the positions are good. But catcher, I think you need a catcher. If that means you got to get rid of
There's just
Bo.
no big free agent catcher. I mean,
right.
You can say no to Pistol Pete. You can say no to Juan Soto. Like the Guardians are not bringing any of those guys in. I don't think Cody Bellinger is going to be there as well. Christian Walker, obviously, he's a first baseman. You're not going to try to bring him in. I mean, there are a ton of veteran pitchers on the market, but a lot of them are going to be really expensive. Right.
If you're Danny Jansen's out there, he's not terrible. Carson Kelly, Gary Sanchez, a little bit older.
I would so much rather, and we'll dive on into this when we go with the sort of minor league prospects, right? But I mean, there's okay. So here's a couple. I mean, Luis Severino is out there. If you want to bring a pitcher in, he wouldn't be terrible. But I mean, if you're talking about catcher,
Lavastida, give him another shot. I've been saying it. I love Brian Lavastida. He barely got a shot. I've been wanting him as our second catcher. I really want just to bring him back and give him one more chance.
Here, and I agree with you, catcher is the one point. Because, like, I'm still fine with Noel or Brennan in right field. Or, again, if Chase Delauder is able to come up next year, then perfect. That's where he would go, and maybe he solves the problem. Here is all of the catchers, and I'm listing them in order of WAR, which is wins above replacement, stat that determines how valuable you are. Obviously, baseball fans know what WAR is. Kyle Higashioka, Travis d'Arnaud, Danny Jansen, Gary Sanchez, Carson Kelly, Yasmani Grandal, Austin Hedges, which we should re-sign, Elias Diaz, Jacob Stallings, James McCann, and those are the only guys with positive WAR. The guys with negative WAR: Jan Gomes, Tucker Barnhart, who's terrible, Luke Maley, Kurt Casale, Omar Narvaez, Martin Maldonado, and Max Stassi, who did not play last year.
Give me Jan Gomes.
Jan Gomes, really? He had a 0.1 negative WAR this year, and he's 37. I think you're joking.
I'm just a Jan Gomes fan. It'd be like the cookie.
The youngest catcher on
that's
this
also
list.
I do want to say I do not want Carrasco back. I love the guy, but he was not good at all.
Love him, but no. Youngest catchers on the free agent list, by the way, are Danny Jansen and Carson Kelly, both aged 30. The next youngest guy would be Gary Sanchez and Austin Hedges. So honestly, I'm fine with the Hedges and Naylor thing because, I mean, Naylor's got enough pop in the bat to figure it out. And especially if it means you sacrifice the catcher position to have good defense, which Naylor did get better this year. Still wasn't great, but he did get better. And Hedges obviously is the defensive mastermind behind the plate. And you just sacrifice the catcher position, say, okay, we're just not going to get much from our catching position this year. And you go out and you get a guy like Anthony Santander, spend a little bit of money. I'd be okay with that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you might have to sacrifice catcher position maybe for another year. There's nothing out there this year.
I think that right field spot is a bigger need to fill than the catcher spot for this team right now.
Depends.
That's just the way that's the way that I feel, because
I
feel
mean,
like if you
Noel
have
and Brennan,
Naylor
when
and
they get
Hedges,
hot,
they're good
they get
enough.
hot. But when when Will Brennan and Noel get hot, they're hot. So
Santander would be hot all the time.
Yeah, right. Obviously, that'd be your solve
And the
right there.
defense. And I think the defensive metric, the defensive metrics for Santander are good.
You don't have the money though. I don't see them spending. That's the only thing with Santander. I'd love to have him, but obviously Dolan's the cheapest man alive, so I don't see it happening.
Again, something that, again, we can play fantasy here for a little bit. Realistically, though, what do you think the Guardians major league team does this offseason? I think realistically,
nothing. Like years past.
I think okay, well let's quantify what nothing means for a second. Nothing means they don't test the free agent market, which is not what this organization does. They, I think, at the very minimum, will do something in re-signing Shane Bieber, Austin Hedges, and Matthew Boyd. I see all three of those moves. If those don't happen, I would be shocked, especially if Shane Bieber doesn't come back to this team. I would be very shocked.
They didn't bring back Boyd. Cheap too. I mean,
I would be more shocked if they didn't bring back Boyd. That would be concerning to me, because Boyd pitched well, and I know he's a little bit on the older side, but again, pitched well. It'd be more concerning to me if this team didn't bring back Shane Bieber, if this organization didn't bring back Shane Bieber, considering what the team did without Shane Bieber. And we've had this conversation before. The same thing happened in 2022. Like, Shane Bieber was hurt. I think pitched in the playoffs though that year, which is the only thing that was different. But I mean, it feels like the same conversation over the past couple of playoff runs this team has had. You lose some starting pitching depth. You have to string together a lineup with a couple of young guys. Except this year, the Guardians did a thing and they added Lane Thomas, which very good trade. And yeah, I just think I'd be shocked if they didn't re-sign Shane Bieber, and I'd be shocked if Hedges and Boyd aren't on this team next year. At the very least, that's what I expect them to do. Again, nothing would surprise me in the Naylor conversation. I would like, and pretty please and pleading, that they do something in free agency, more likely than not open the book a little bit and go for Anthony Santander, even if it's for 1 year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you pretty much summed it up.
Well, I'll let you kind of take the forefront here on a couple. I don't know if you have it up. If you don't, then I can go through it. But if you have it up, let's look at the free agent market in the minor league system. If you don't have it up,
I'm right here. So,
okay,
for the pitchers,
by the way, but before we do that, apologies to cut you off. Happy late birthday, first-year manager Stephen Vogt. Happy late birthday, manager of the year. He better be.
Yeah, 100%. So, pitchers, you have Tyler Beede, who started the year with the team, didn't really do anything crazy. Anthony Gose, who seems like he has a million lives with us. I think probably has been DFA'd 6 times and somehow sticks around. Harrison Ramirez, who was a pitching prospect he pitched in Akron in 22, went down with Tommy John and has not pitched since. And then Lenny Torres, who I've talked about countlessly. I mean, the dude's, in my opinion, the second best pitching prospect, bullpen wise, that you have in the system. So,
yep. And another guy they've already re-signed in Steven Perez, as well as, I'm going to butcher this name, Wardcalin Velasquez, or not Velasquez, Wardcalin Vasquez. Again, I definitely butcher that. Apologies. But he's on the free agent list as well. I've never heard the name. For as much as we dive into the minor league teams, I don't know who he is.
Right. But, I mean, then you go to catchers. You have Brian Labastida. Would love to have him back. Dom Nunez, who spent pretty much all year in Columbus. And then the Viking, Mikael Ramirez.
Hey, 3 guys that saw Columbus this year.
All catchers that are really solid. Then infielders.
And they all saw AAA. That's the important thing.
Infielders, Reynel Delgado, who I love. I think he's a great second base infield prospect that we have. I don't think he's going to get a chance, so don't really see him re-signing him, but I love Delgado. Hope he catches on somewhere else. Aaron Bracho, who is a huge power bat in Akron. And then the outfielders, you have Estevan Florial, who started the year with Cleveland, but couldn't really get anything going. And then Alex Friplanes, big power bat down in Akron, who I absolutely love as well. So
Power bat
there's
or
some names
strikeout
there.
machine.
Yeah, but I mean, he finished with a ton of home runs. But with
true.
him, it seems like the same with him, Jonathan Rodriguez, and Noel. It's either going 450 or you're headed back to the dugout. So
yep. So out of these, I mean, Beatty has already elected free agency. Anthony Ghost has already elected free agency, and Estevan
which he'll
Florial.
somehow come back.
Yeah, Estevan Florial also already elected free agency, and Steven Perez, the one pitcher that you didn't mention that I did, has already re-signed. Again, don't know who Steven Perez is. Hopefully, we'll find out more about him next year. Lenny Torres, I think, is the guy that you got to re-sign. I know you'll fully agree with me.
1,000%.
The catchers is where it gets interesting. I think the guy that I would want to re-sign most out of that is Lava.
1,000% bring him back.
Nunez would be a good AAA catcher and an emergency guy, especially next year when you won't have David Fry catching. If you need a guy to re-sign, Miguel Ramirez is interesting.
Lava's in the same boat. I mean, Lava I think is pretty much the same age, and he's 25 and he had time up.
Lava could start with the big league club next year. He really could.
Turn 26 in a couple weeks. So.
And then Dom Nunez, I think, is a guy you want to keep in AAA if you can. And then Ramirez is the interesting one to me. I honestly, for as much as I love him, I'd be okay if they didn't re-sign Miguel Ramirez, especially because you have Cooper Ingle here, you have Jacob Kozar, both of which, with all due respect to Miguel Ramirez, I think have some higher ceilings, especially that of Cooper Ingle, who I would be shocked if he doesn't start at the very least in AA next year. He might even start in Columbus.
So my thing is, Miguel Ramirez, he hit 263, Dom Nunez hit 205, and Miguel Ramirez is 4 years younger than the almost 30 Dom Nunez. So I think I'd go with the Viking over Nunez just because he's younger and there's a little bit higher of a ceiling and he had a better average and he's got a little more power. So I would go with
maybe someone looking to fill a spot on their 40-man roster if Dom Nunez is able to go with free agency.
So I think Lava and Ramirez, I would say the catchers you got to keep. I'd let Nunez walk. I think you can kind of find what he brings in kind of any catcher in AAA. So
Reynel Delgado, obviously you really hope that he sticks around, but I don't know if he will. And then Aaron Bracho and Alex Planes. I'm indecisive about both of them. I really am. I'm honestly watching Bracho a lot up in Akron. I'd be okay if they let him go.
I'd like Bracho as a guy, as a player. There's nowhere for him to play. He kind of floats in that 210, 215 batting average with like 12 home runs. He's a solid first baseman, DH, but they've tried him out at second. It's not good. So he's a first baseman, DH, and
honestly, if you want to bring back
a DH,
and if you
I love Planes, I think you keep Planes.
I was going to say, if you want to bring back a DH to Planes, especially with what this Guardians organization needs, they have too many middle infield prospects. Yeah. I think I'd be okay if you don't re-sign Bracho, but signing Planes back, for as much as he is a hit or miss guy, literally, that's not just a figurative statement with him. He literally hits it over the fence, or he swings and misses. I mean, he is literally a hit or miss player. I think you got to bring him back for the power and the defense. Yep. And I think you got to bring him back for the power and defensive prowess that he has in that outfield. Other than that, though, I mean, Vasquez, Mesh, sure, if he goes, whatever. Ramirez, you'd like to see him get another shot after Tommy John, but obviously with how deep this pitching staff is in this organization, you could let him go as well. But yeah, so those are all the guys that are on free agency.
Reynel Delgado, though, real quick, in 300 at bats, he had 275 with 9 home runs. So I think
you got to bring him back if you can. You got to bring him back
for sure. I've loved him since he was in Akron, so I want to keep.
Well, let's move on to the really scary thing. Rule 5.
This is the worst day of the year by far.
So the Rule 5 draft is the day held in December. I think you would be able to explain better than I would what the Rule 5 draft is. So
pretty much to sum it up in an easy way, because it is a very complicated thing. So if you were drafted out of high school, you have 5 years essentially to make the major league roster. If you do not, you go into the Rule 5 draft pool. And college is 4 years after you've been drafted. So after the 4 or 5 years, depending if you're not on the team's 40-man roster, pretty much everybody that fits into that category from all 30 major league teams get thrown into a draft.
And it's every year plus that, right? So once
Yeah.
you've
say
go ahead.
Delgado, let's just say he went to college for or after, say his 4 years is up and we draft him out of college, then every single year after that he's not not on our 40, he's eligible. So or on a 40. Even if the Phillies take him this year and then next year that he's not on the 40, he's eligible again. So
and that's why you see minor league rosters change all the time, because there are teams that like to be aggressive in the Rule 5 draft, and there are teams that don't do anything.
And then most importantly, in the Rule 5 draft, you can pass on a pick. So it's not like a regular draft. So say the Phillies we'll just use the Phillies again. They have the number 1 pick. They can take whoever they want. And then say the Guardians are up second, but they don't have a roster spot to fill, or they want to go after a free agent, don't want to waste time with a prospect, they can just simply pass in that first major league round, and then they just go to the next team.
Let's use an actual real world example, because we were talking about this before we went live as well. The Yankees had like 12 players selected from their team, while the Mariners didn't have anybody taken. And I think there was one team, I don't remember who it was, that didn't take anybody in the Rule 5 draft. And there was one team that I think used pretty much every single pick.
Yeah, like the Rockies drafted like 10 guys. And I think maybe it was like the Mets had 2 picks or something like that. So it differs from team to team. So
but the really scary thing is, I mean, take a look at that list that's in front of you right now. First off, only one catcher. Let's get this out of the way easy. If Kevin Rivas stays or leaves, whatever. Okay, fine. Let's go to the outfielders really quickly, because, actually, I'm going to leave this up to you. The catcher was easy because it's literally just Kevin Rivas. That is the only catcher here that is eligible.
I like outfielders. Let's go to outfielders.
Okay, so some big names here. Some really, really big names. You have Luis Durango and Esteban Gonzalez, as well as Isaiah Green. That, Matt, take it or leave it.
Isaiah Green, only thing on him, he was a big piece in that Lindor trade. Not big piece, but he was, I think, ranked like the Mets' 10th prospect at the time. So that's the only note on Isaiah
Well, that's
Green.
something. But the notable ones that, of course, we've talked a lot about and raved a lot about on this show here: Wilfredo Antunez, who helped the Captains to a title; Jorge Burgos, who helped the Captains to a title, later came up to play in Akron there as well; and Petey Halpin, an Akron staple.
I don't want to lose Petey. He's not going to be on the 40 man because I don't see him getting a chance. But what's nuts is that Petey's only 22 and he's already eligible for this. Normally you see guys that are 24, 25. That's when their first year this comes up, 23. Petey, you took him out of high school, and obviously his time's already up. So
they took him out of high school, and he was 17.
Love to keep Petey. I think you have to. Yeah, he was 17.
So here's the one thing you say you kind of have to. The teams have no control over who teams take from the Rule 5 draft. So it's not like free agency for those folks. For those of you folks out there. You can't really control who stays and who leaves by trying to offer them a little bit of a sweeter deal. If Petey Halpin gets picked by the Seattle Mariners, well, he's off to Seattle.
Yeah, which sucks, but because you have no control over it.
That's the unfortunate thing. The outfielder, and this might shock some people, but the outfielder I really want to bring back most is Jorge Burgos, with Halpin being a very close second.
Yeah.
I like Burgos a lot. Antunez,
I don't think he'll go anywhere.
Yeah, Antunez, great piece of that captain's team. If he leaves, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me. Do I think he does? No, not really.
No.
But Jorge Burgos, hopefully he doesn't get picked, and obviously hope Petey Halpin doesn't get picked either. Infielders, let's move on now. We'll move over some of the more honestly, there's really only one name, maybe 2 names in here that I'd say, they can go if they want. Juan Benjamin and Jose Devers, I think, are the only 2 guys. The only 2 guys that are like
Mayak
Collado, maybe.
Yeah,
Collado, maybe.
I obviously Valdez, and you'll touch on it, but Valdez, Tolentino, Micah Priest, Frias, and Cairo, 5 guys.
Those are the 5 guys. Yeah,
you'd
hate to lose any of them.
Frias, the bat's not really there, but I think it will develop. He's a younger guy, but Tolentino and Valdez are the 2 I'm really scared of losing because of how much
Same
value
with Cairo, man. I'm terrified of losing Cairo.
Priest is great too.
I think I would agree with you. The two guys that I'm most afraid of being taken here in the Rule 5 draft is Valdez. And I think Valdez, I mean, we haven't even gotten to pitchers yet. And pitchers is a long list. We're only going to talk about the notable guys with pitchers because it's just such a long list. But for the infield guys, it's just Tolentino's been clutch and Valdez's glove is amazing. Tolentino won Eastern League Player of the Year. People around the major league tropes pay attention to that stuff, and they take notice. I'm really terrified that Tolentino and Valdez are going to be two guys that are gone there as well. And then Christian Cairo would be a guy that I would personally hate to lose. Dion Frias, you'd like to keep him around because of his utility. We know how much this organization likes utility players, but obviously if he goes, I mean, not the biggest loss in the world. I don't want to lose Christian Cairo either for the way he came on, especially as a base runner this year, was outstanding and got the call to Columbus. I don't think he'll make it up to Cleveland at any point. I think at this point he is a AAA player, but nonetheless, you'd still like to keep him around. And Valdez's glove, I mean, is just phenomenal.
Yeah, 100%. I think Tolentino's maybe at a bigger risk just because obviously he has those awards. Valdez's bat wasn't 100% there, so maybe a team doesn't take a shot, but obviously the glove is just amazing. So if you want a defensive player, there you go. It's right there. So
okay, well, this is quite the list here. So shall we just I don't really know.
Do you just want to run down the list quickly and then just kind of pick out names?
Sure, let's start with left-handed pitchers because it's such a short list. And I'm only going to run through the names that, like, you know, are because obviously Steve Hajar and Randy LeBow, take them or leave them, right? Rodney Boone, Will Dion, Andrew, the name we always butcher the last name of. He was pitcher in Columbus this year. Yeah,
maybe.
I don't know. We said we'd figured out how to say it. We have failed. Give us an F in that department. Doug Nikhazy and Ryan Webb are all on this list. By the way, the only way, and I don't know if you mentioned this, and if you did, then I'll just say it in case people are just tuning in. But the only way you can protect someone from the Rule 5 draft is to add them to the 40-man roster.
Which now you have 2 spots freed up from Straw, accepting his outright to Columbus. And Karen Shack becoming a free agent. He declined his outright to AAA. So
you have 2 spots to fill. Nikhazy probably likely to take one of those spots if they do want to fill it.
Have to.
Obviously, they could go for Santander. And Shane Bieber, I think, would fill a 40-man role at that. Oh, no, he's still on the 40-man, isn't he?
Yep.
But, I mean, Dion, a guy that we like. Obviously, if he leaves, I don't think that the biggest loss out of the lefty group would be Doug Nikhazy, and I think second is Ryan Webb. We've obviously talked to Ryan Webb. What a great guy. Nikhazy and Webb, I think, would be the 2 biggest losses out of anybody on that list.
I don't want to lose Dion either, but I mean, I think those 3, Nikhazy, Webb, Dion's ERA struggled this year in Columbus, but I've seen what he can do in Akron, and the dudes are just unreal. So I think those are your big 3 out of the left-handed pitchers. I do believe Nikhazy will get one of the spots. I have an idea for the other one, but I think Nikhazy's a lock. He has to be. If not, he's gonna go. He's definitely gonna be taken.
Well, all right. Let's attack this here. I wish you find people could Yeah, here, let's just go at it. Alaska Abney, Franco. These are right-handed pitchers, by the way. Alaska Abney, Franco Alamon, Rennie Artiles, Trey Benson, Tanner Burns, Ross Carver, Jose Contreras, Aaron Davenport, Trenton Denholm, Nick Enright, Yorman Gomez, Bradley Hanner, Alan Hernandez, Mason Hickman, Reed Johnston, Zach Kent, Jack Leftwich, Tommy Mace, not even going to try that name, Jake Miller, Durrett Para, Alonzo Richardson, Davis Sharp, Hunter Stanley, and Tyler Thornton. Why not? I'll try the other name, Nick Mikolajchak. That's the one name that I skipped.
Mikolajchak. Yep.
Okay, there you go. I was close. Give me credit where credit is due now.
Oh, yeah. Did you get the last Wardquellen Vasquez? Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously guys that I would prefer stick around. Abney, Alamon, Benson, Carver, Davenport, Denholm, Hanner, Hickman, Zach Kent, Tommy Mace, Richardson, Sharp, and Thornton. I think are all guys that.
And that's 14 right there. So that just tells you how loaded our system is.
With right-handed pitching. Wow.
Right. I mean, you mentioned all those guys, and like it's just insane. Like Bradley Hanner and Davenport. I obviously, if we lose Davenport, wherever Davenport goes, that's my second team. But
I hate to break this news to you here as well. I don't think anyone's going to pick up Jack Leftwich.
Yeah, see, that's the one dude I'm over the moon. I'm praying every team. I'm putting in a good word, finding somehow an inning he got out of. Luckily, he's great. Any scouts out there listening real quick, Jack Leftwich is one of the best pitchers I have ever seen. If you take him, your system will thrive.
Just don't watch any other podcast that we've ever put out. Ever.
No. Nothing past. Don't do highlights. Just right here. Take the word Jack Leftwich is amazing. You will not regret anything that you take him number 1 overall. But yeah, Davenport, I might cry if we lose him. Abney, another guy. That's great. Hanner. It's just loaded. Tommy Mace.
Abney's got that frisbee slider that when he gets that thing moving, I mean, that is really tough to stop. But
Tanner Burns, just looking at the list just goes on. Denholm.
Yeah. Davenport's obviously a big risk to be gone. Nikhazy, a big risk to be gone if they don't add him to the 40-man. I don't see why they'd add Davenport to the 40-man. Even though for how over the moon you are about him, there's no way they're going to add him to the 40-man. Nikhazy, Nikhazy, I could see a way that they add him on to the 40-man, but I mean, looking at others on this list, I'd mentioned the Yankees or some other team. It might not have been the Yankees. Had like 12 guys taken from their system last year.
I have a bad feeling this is going to be us.
Guardians could definitely see that just by way of their pitchers alone.
Yeah. So, I mean, my question to you pretty much now is, if you had 5 guys, obviously ours is 2. We have 2 spots. If you just had 5, just to narrow it down real quick, who would your 5 be?
Well, first off,
and then we can go for 2 just off of that.
So 5 guys that I would prefer to stick around.
Yeah, and then I pick your 2 just from there.
Oh, pick your 2 that you'd want to add to the 40-man. Okay, so first of all, we have 32 pitchers eligible for the Rule 5 draft. I don't know what other teams have eligible, but that to me seems insane.
Yeah.
That to me seems ridiculous. And obviously only 1 catcher seems ridiculously low. 5 guys that I would really, really, really want to keep around is, Yordis Valdez, Milan Tolentino, Doug Nikhazy, Ryan Webb. Man.
It's tough. You got a list in front of you.
Jeez.
And it only grows as you look at it.
Probably Aaron Davenport, but I mean, man, the 4 for sure, Tolentino, Valdez, Nikhazy, and Webb, I think you want to stick around. Because Tolentino, had an 0 for 5 day, I think, in the last game that they played. But Tolentino's got some clutch hitting genes and could definitely see I think he did see Columbus this year, didn't he? Am I wrong about that?
He rode out the entire year with Akron.
Okay. Well, he could see Columbus next year, that's for sure.
He for sure will.
Obviously, Petey Halpin is a guy you'd want to keep, but to me, not over Tolentino, Valdez, Nikhazy, or Webb.
Right.
And then to answer your second part of your question, the 2 guys that I'd put on the 40-man, I think if you're going to put anybody on the 40-man, it'd be Nikhazy. But honestly, I don't think they would put anyone else on the 40-man. Would I, as a front office member? I honestly don't think I would either. I think I'd put Nikhazy on there.
Last year, you saw Cade Smith get added right before,
that's right.
Which was obviously best move.
Thank God.
And I knew he was going to be that beast. So,
but I mean, Nikhazy could be the 5th starting pitcher, kind of like how we saw Joey Cantillo come up. And obviously, we saw Sobrowski and Walters come up in the bullpen. And again, Cade Smith, a Rule 5 draft protection player. I think Nikhazy could very well be like that for the starting rotation. But honestly, I would leave one roster spot open to go for a free agent guy, to go for a guy like Santander, because the Guardians are a team that's going to be in that market. That they are.
Yeah.
Whether they want to spend the money or not, free agents are going to take a look at Cleveland, especially that of Anthony Santander. Guardians are the second best fit to him, according to an article posted on MLB.com. And there's a ton of things going on out there about Anthony Santander signing with Cleveland. There's also a lot of things. I've seen a prediction about Corbin Burns going to Cleveland. I think one other pitcher, I think it was Blake Snell, going to Cleveland. So I think you have to keep a roster spot open for some free agent piece, whether that's a bat, whether that's a pitcher. I don't really care. I think a 39-man roster right now, and then see what you can bring in free agency.
I agree with the free agent route, but I mean, if you're not gonna do anything in the free agent route, I'm just gonna start off with my 5. I like Webb, Nikhazy, Tolentino, obviously Davenport, and then the 5th spot's tough. Bradley. It's between Bradley Hanner, who we acquired from Minnesota in the Rule 5 draft 2 years ago. So that's
again,
just,
so
I mean,
and
note
so
to just show you.
And to just add another point onto the Rule 5 draft, even if you already were a Rule 5 draftee, you can be a Rule 5 draftee again. In fact, I guarantee
Hanner was eligible last year too, just
Yep.
nobody picked up on him. So
Yep.
I eligible again, and I think he will obviously get taken just because of how good he is. And then that another guy, Franco Aleman, who I know Guardians prospective is over the moon for, and that's his number 1 guy for a lock. And Aleman's been on absolute fire since he's been in Columbus. So what I think will happen is Nikhazy and Aleman will get those 2 spots, and I wouldn't be mad with it. I think Nikhazy's obviously a lock. If you're asking me, it would be Nikhazy and Davenport. It's not going to be Davenport because he only saw AA, and you're going to go with, I think, 2 AAA guys who are at bigger risk of being taken, which is Doug Nikhazy and Franco Aleman. Would love to see Hanner, obviously Tolentino in that spot too, but I think it's going to be, I think you're going to hang on to Nikhazy and Aleman. So,
I do want to throw in a little point there about Chase DeLauder. I mean, I don't know if you've kept up with the Arizona Fall. He has been great. He's been great.
I mean, we knew that. It's just been, can he stay healthy? And when he's healthy, he's great. But obviously, he's been injured, just like Valera a ton. That's another dude we have not really talked about with that outfield spot. Could Valera see some time if healthy next year?
Yeah, maybe, possibly. Obviously, Trace DeLauder, Travis Bazana. Those are going to be the 2 guys that you most look forward to seeing next year. So real quickly, I'm going to pull up the top prospect.
Here's another thing, and he's going to be on that list too. I haven't heard anything on Daniel Espino since he went down in spring training. That's a big question mark that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, but I haven't heard anything on Espino. I'm even going to go to Twitter right now just to see when the last update on him was.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing about Espino is if he is the pitcher that the Guardians got before the injuries, if he is that pitcher after all the injuries, then I would be absolutely over the moon when Daniel Espino finally comes up. I think he's on the 40-man. Is he not?
Yeah, I think he is because he was at risk of being in the Rule 5 draft. But I think Espino, I think they're going to convert him into a bullpen guy, especially if you go down the line and Class A obviously gets too expensive and ends up with the Yankees. I think Espino, obviously, I think he's capable of throwing 99, 100. He just can't throw long innings, and that's why he's not going to be a starter anymore. I think they're going to convert him into the bullpen. Just add more fire to it.
I think Espino is a guy that's a future ace, especially if he's the pitcher like he was before. Right. I think they might start him out as a long inning guy in the bullpen, or maybe like some teams throw in that 6th starter. He could definitely see time this year with that. I think they're going to start him in AAA just to sort of next year because he's going to be healthy enough to pitch next year. But if he's healthy enough to pitch next year, which I don't know why he wouldn't be, he should be, then I believe that we will see him in Cleveland at some point next season. especially if they don't. Older. Yep. But Bazana and DeLauder, this is according to MLB.com, by the way, both Bazana and DeLauder, as well as Juan Brito, Daniel Espino, and obviously Jonathan Rodriguez, Joey Cantillo. Those guys are supposed to make their major league debut next year. And I just listed off top 15 guys there. I think there is a slight chance that we see Cooper Ingle up there, especially if John Kenzie Noel becomes like Oscar Gonzalez, then Jonathan Rodriguez could fill that spot. He saw MLB time and crushes it in the minor leagues. He's just got to find his rhythm at the major league level.
Again, one international league MVP, so that just goes to show you how good he, like his talent is. It's just, can he put it together at the major league
Let's
level?
close out the show here today by just sort of saying what are, we'll say, 3 prospects, because Cleveland usually one of the system that likes to test the young guys out anyway. 3 prospects, if you think the Guardians will get that far, that show up to play Major League Ball next year. And I'm going to not let you include Jonathan Rodriguez because I think that's a given.
Yeah, I mean, he already made his debut technically, so
still on the prospect list because he's in minors, but
it's tough. If Espino's healthy, I want to preface it with him being healthy. I do think he'll make his debut. I think if injuries come into play in the outfield, DeLauder gets some time just because he's been older. I don't think Bazana sees the MLB next year. I know a lot of people think he will. I don't. I think he'll be the year after, in 26, and then let me check out that prospect list real quick.
So I will say my thing on it, and I kind of asked you not necessarily a stupid question, but a question that's really hard to answer because it's tough to predict these things, right? So obviously I think there's a chance that we can see Cooper Ingle come up next year, but that would be if the catcher position is really bad or if Austin Hedges gets hurt or something of that nature happens. I think there's a chance we see a guy like CJ Kafis come up. Especially if DeLauder gets hurt, the outfield still becomes a problem. And especially if you trade a guy like Josh Naylor and maybe Manzardo's just not cutting it out defensively, you move him back to play DH and you bring up a guy like CJ Kafis. Obviously, if Chase DeLauder is healthy, I think there's no doubt he's going to see Major League Baseball next year. Bazana, maybe something happens with Rocchio and he's not the player that he was or whatever have you. Then, I mean, obviously Bazana could come up. Can he play shortstop, though? That's the big point of contention. Do you try out Andres Jimenez at shortstop because Bazana more of a true second baseman? So that's definitely an interesting conversation to have there. Obviously, if you want some pitchers, Daniel Espino, I think is a guy that could see his debut. Joey Cantillo obviously has already been on the Major League roster. Andrew Walter's a guy that's been on the Major League roster there as well. And according to MLB.com, Parker Messick is projected to make his debut next year as well. So maybe we see Parker Messick come up.
See that.
I don't see it either.
I would like to, but
Doug Nikhazy, I think, is a lot more likely. Same with Ryan Webb.
I think Nikhazy might start the year.
Maybe
as a starter. I like Alamon too. I'm confident if we keep him around after the Rule 5 draft, we'll see him out there too in the bullpen. So maybe Valera if he's healthy. Just had him forever. So yeah, it should be fun. I have a lot of prospects that have a good shot at cracking that line.
There's Churio's going to need a little bit more time. Velasquez will need some more time. Yanao is going to need some more time. Braylon Doty, the guy they just drafted out of high school, is still in rookie ball. He's obviously going to need a ton of time. Same with Relvin Francisca, who right now is in Lynchburg, a middle infield prospect there. Guardians can't get enough of them, it seems. But interestingly enough, you say the Guardians have a lot of middle infield prospects. Only 2 out of the top 10 are middle infield prospects.
Yeah,
Francisco
you've dwindled it down by turning them into other positions like you saw out of Freeman and Schneemann, or utility guys, or just simply kind of trading them away, or what have you. So.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very interesting. I mean, the Rule 5 draft always makes someone sad, and I'm not even going to look up what are the best Rule 5 draft picks available. Actually, you know what? I am going to do that. Best.
I do like that.
Anything in the chat from anywhere while we have Well,
nothing this week.
Okay. So just to give all of you fine people that are watching an idea, how many we got out there today?
Good old 83.
That's good. That's good. Okay. So here's some of the Rule 5 drafts, some of the Rule 5 draft picks that have really been able to turn out. Mark Canna, that immediately comes to mind. And how about this, by the way? Anthony Santander was a Rule 5 draft pick from Cleveland. That's another reason why I want them to bring Santander back. He has been in this organization before. I completely forgotten about that. So egg on my face. I didn't even
know that. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, no, he was a Rule 5 draft pick by the Orioles from Cleveland, and obviously just had his career year this past year. Garrett Whitlock, you pull that name out at the office party, that's going to get you some points. Odubel Herrera worked out really well as a Rule 5 draft pick. Brad Keller worked out really well as a Rule 5 draft pick. For a moment, Tyler Wells did. Tommy Conley, who was selected by the Rockies from the Yankees, who is now back on the Yankees, had himself a pretty good postseason. Ryan Noda, back when he was selected in 22, has been a really good piece for the Oakland Athletics. Delino DeShields, that's a really old one. Trevor Stephan was selected by the Guardians from the Yankees, so there's just one from the Guardians list. And here's a couple other guys to throw out there as well. Akil Baddoo, G-Man Choi, Kevin Kelly, Victor Reyes, TJ McFarland. Rule
Kevin
5
Kelly,
draft
a
guys
guy
can
we
work
lost.
out.
Yeah. So I just brought up last year's Rule 5 draft. So we drafted 3 guys and we lost 3 guys. Tyler Brown from the Astros, who never panned out. Connor Gillespie, took him from the Orioles. He saw some time this year with the big league club. And then John, I want to say Doxix from the Rays. So he didn't really do anything either. And then MILB lost some minor league guys. Samuel Vasquez to the Nationals, who didn't do much. Thomas Ponticelli, big guy in Akron, who played a role but didn't do anything really with the Rockies this year. And Bryce Ball went to the Phillies. So didn't really lose a lot last year. You got 3 guys. I have a feeling it's going to be the opposite, this time around, unfortunately for us. But yeah, should be interesting to see how that plays out.
So, need I also mention probably the most famous Rule 5 draft pick of all time? I don't know if you know this.
Go ahead and say it. I think I know who you're talking about.
Roberto Clemente.
Yep.
Yeah. Most famous Rule 5 draft pick of all time. He was a Rule 5 pick.
That's
and
not
obviously
how long
one of the
that's
best
been
players in
going on
MLB
for.
history.
Yeah. You know what's even crazier is that I was just going through 2023 post from Guardians Prospective. Ramon Laureano was our starting right fielder to begin the season. That seems like forever ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Don't remind me. That experiment did not work out. Our starting outfielder was Ramon Laureano, and we found a way to make the postseason.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, and then, you know what? The Braves picked him up, and he wasn't that bad for the Braves this year. He really wasn't. Yeah. He was not that bad. And the Braves the Braves were injury riddled as hell, so they needed to pick up someone, and they were able to do it right there. I know there are a ton of opinions out there that like the Rule 5 draft is broken and there are a ton of things that need to be changed with it, which is probably true. There are a lot of corrupt things that need to be changed with the sport of baseball. But we kind of have to just look how it is up to this point. But again, like you said, it just seems like probably the most broken thing with the Rule 5 draft is how young you can be now to be in the Rule 5 draft. The lowest age a guy can be in the Rule 5 draft right now is 20. That's insane.
And so I don't know. I'm in between because we don't fall into this boat, but the Rule 5 draft is set up to where like the Yankees, all their prospects, they don't have room for them. And so then they go elsewhere. And it helps the smaller market teams, but we know how to draft. So it also hurts us, even though we're a small market team. So
yeah, the Rule 5 draft is kind of one of it's okay. So
you don't see it in any other sport. That's a fact.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's also because there are so many players in baseball.
Right.
Baseball has such a big minor league system, and obviously baseball is so big around the world. You kind of have to have something in place. But I mean, the checks and balances Sorry, I thought a contact was going to fall. The checks and balances, quote unquote, if you were to call them in baseball, are really weird because there's no salary cap. So you just have to have an owner that's going to be able to spend a crazy loaded ton of money to have the best team possible. And obviously Moneyball and whatever else, but you can definitely game that system. Does baseball need a salary cap? Yeah. I mean, come on. Yeah. But then you have like the whole prospect farm, which players and organizations and teams that spend a lot of money, like the Yankees, like the Mets, like the Phillies, have a couple good draft picks here and there, but don't normally draft particularly well because they don't really have to worry about their prospect system unless they want to use it as like trade bait, because they'll just go sign the biggest free agent that's out there because, well, they have the money to do so. And then for a team like the Guardians who drafts well, that really helps them utilize the prospect farm. And of course, with Cleveland, a lot of players leave once they get expensive enough to where the ownership is like, yeah, that's not worth it to me. Bye-bye. Out you go. And then you have the whole thing of like, well, okay, the playing field is kind of even. You have teams that can draft really well versus teams that just sign all the big name guys. What if we have something in place to where we're going to punish the teams? I don't know. The Rule 5 draft, to me, I've learned a lot more about it as I've gotten into baseball over the past few years. But it just seems to me like this perfect middle ground to make nobody happy. Like it doesn't necessarily help the teams that only pick up the big name free agents like the Yankees or Dodgers or Phillies, but it also really kind of hurts the teams that draft well and have a deep prospect system, because obviously that just makes other teams' prospect systems deeper, even though they won't really utilize them. Kind of not even
right. I mean, you make a good point.
Well, hang on, because I want to make an analogy. It's not even like a double-edged sword. It's like a double-edged, like dull pocket knife that you've had. It's like a double-edged butter knife.
Right, but I mean, like, you even went through the list. It's like, I don't want to say nobody turns out, but like, they're not like all-star guys. Like Trevor Stephan, obviously, really
Roberto
good player.
Clemente is a very rare exception.
He's the exception. But like guys like Trevor Stephan, I mean, him being a top 10 Rule 5 draft player kind of all time, he's good, don't get me wrong, but he was like never an all-star, so it's
obviously
isn't going to benefit you crazy.
And obviously, you see the way Santander has performed out for the Orioles this year. And obviously, this is a very recent example. But Santander was a Rule 5 draft pick all the way back in 2016. Yeah. So it's taken him 8 years to turn out and have a career year like that. Obviously, there are a ton of old guys that like old-timey players that have been selected. Jose Bautista, I'm finding out, Rule 5 draft pick.
Wow, okay. There you go.
Josh Hamilton, Rule 5 draft pick. Johan Santana, Ryan Presley. All of these names I at least recognize. George Bell, that's a Rule 5. Nestor Cortez.
Here's another thing with the Rule 5 draft. It's only radio broadcasted, which is hilarious. It's not YouTube, not on MLB Network, which, I mean, it's in the middle of December. You have nothing going on. Just throw that on. Only audio, which is insane. So, I mean, it's up to you. It's up to you. I would love to come on. The Rule 5 draft is December 11th. Somewhere around after the Rule 5 draft, I would love to come on and kind of recap it for everybody else.
I would absolutely love to do that. I think that would be great. We can see who's leaving. We can see who's coming in. We can sort of evaluate what the teams are now. But yeah, the Rule 5 draft is always one of the more interesting things, and it's kind of just like any other prospect. You really don't know if they're going to pan out or not. Right. But I mean, if the Guardians are going to take some people in the Rule 5 draft, we'll close out the show with this because I have nothing else after this unless you do. What positions, and again, we don't know what's available in other organizations because the list is probably 1,250 million players long.
It's crazy.
So what positions are you looking for the Guardians to pick from? Pitching rotation? No, I don't really know. Not unless they lose some big names, which that could be a strategy. You could see what you lose in the Rule 5 draft before you take from the Rule 5 draft. Middle infield, no. I would say probably catcher and outfield.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I don't think you go anywhere in the Rule 5 draft. You have too much to protect to where you can even take. In the MLB phase, I mean, the minor league phase is kind of really where it breaks down. And me just being the Akron fan that I am, I'm just kind of looking at Akron's roster. And if you can add a bat in that lineup, I mean, the pitching rotation was good last year. Obviously, you don't know what you have coming in and all that, but maybe another bat down in Akron I'd like to see just in the minor league phase.
You know what, though? I don't know why this came in my head. I feel like major league teams could be really petty during the Rule 5 draft. I just feel like this is MLB organization's time to just be like, hey, you can't take. We're going to take that back. I mean, obviously, once a Rule 5 guy gets picked, you can't just be like, it's like, that's mine now. No take backs. But I mean,
you can wait the previous year. Like if the Twins wanted Hanner back, we developed them. Twins could take it back. So
yeah, Twins could take him back. I mean, this I think is just, oh God, I don't know why I'm getting into the philosophy of the Rule 5 draft right now.
It's something that needs to be studied.
But here's the thing, right? Like you're sitting in the front office, you're the intern that is like, here, intern, you pay attention to the Rule 5 draft, you take whoever you think is good, or maybe the head honchos deal with the Rule 5 draft. To me, the Rule 5 draft is something that they're like, you, intern, yeah, you take care of this. Yeah. I don't know why the Rule 5 draft just seems like that, especially if they don't broadcast it anywhere.
It's like one of the most under kind of whelming things that happen.
And it can be confusing. Yeah. It can be very confusing.
It's really weird to understand because you have MLB rounds, MILB round, who's eligible, then you can pass on a guy. It's like a game of chess on steroids.
Yeah, but it literally is chess. But again, I just can't help but thinking, say like the Rockies take someone from us, and our front office goes, well, we kind of wanted to keep that guy. Who do you really want to keep over there? He's ours now, and kind of add him to the system.
Yeah, and another thing is like, say, I don't know, 10 teams conspire against the Yankees and gut their entire AA team. Like they just take 10 guys out of like Somerset, and then Somerset's got like 8 guys on the roster. So there's so much to it.
Well, but also but again, the philosophy of the Rule 5 draft, at least that I would have right now for the Guardians organization, is wait to see what you lose before you gain, because I think it would be very, very stupid of this team to make the entire 40-man roster and you don't even leave one, maybe even 2 spaces. Maybe they don't add anyone else to the 40-man roster. Maybe there are some still cuts to be made so that they can go attack someone from the free agent market. But if I am the Cleveland Guardians, I am looking to see what we lose before we add, if they add at all, from the Rule 5 draft.
I would go in with your head down, like you're not even there, and you can't be able to take. Because if you say, like you said, you take somebody from the Yankees and they're mad in retaliation, they come over and take Lenny Torres or Davenport or something like that.
The Rule 5 draft is your chance to be petty, man. It really is.
It's something.
Your Rule 5 draft is the chance to be petty, and I'll live and die on that hill. I just think that'd be so funny.
I love
Who's the one team that you would conspire against, by the way?
New York. Take everything they have and more.
But I don't know if I would. I think I would conspire against someone with a deep farm system like the Guardians.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because, like, we have a deep farm system, but then again, the Yankees have so many all-stars to where they can't even, like, put their number 5 prospect in their organization on that 40-man. So,
and you never know, that prospect
it's times
could be
like
really
that,
good.
yeah. Right.
Prospect to be really good.
Davision De Los Santos is the number 20 prospect at the or actually number 5 prospect at the time when we took him last year from the Diamondbacks. Obviously, he didn't pan out to do anything, and he was kind of like a Jonathan Rodriguez. He was just a freak of nature in AAA, but didn't do anything, in spring training, and he didn't make the roster. But yeah, it's interesting.
Wow, I recognize literally none of these names. I just looked up, by the way, the Yankees. Okay, I'm sorry. Hang on a second. Okay, I'm gonna send you this picture Sorry, people out there, you won't be able to get to see because I got a second screen over here, but I'm going to send you this picture. This is a real prospect within the Yankees organization right now. And I'm just thinking how funny it would be if this were to happen. And they look very similar too, by the way. So take a look at what I just sent you there.
Cade Smith. Is he eligible?
He's 22, so I don't think so.
Yeah, I'd like to have both Cade Smiths. That'd be sweet.
Yes, and they're both. Well, wait, is the Cade Smith we have a righty or lefty-handed pitcher?
I want to say righty. Yeah,
he's a righty too. We could have both right-handed Cade Smith pitchers,
and get both of them for the Rule 5 draft because that's where we got Cade Smith.
And then we protected him from said Rule 5 draft. So
yeah,
he's
we got him from Minnesota too. We get a lot of our good closers from the Rule 5 draft. Minnesota, Bradley Hanner. Cade
so
Smith.
Let's look at Minnesota.
Yeah, see who they have in the bullpen that's eligible because I want them.
At this point, we're just going down rabbit holes. I'm so sorry for all you fine people that want some good, hard, cold information. You're not getting that right now. Sorry, we're doing our own thing. Walker Jenkins, who's in the outfield, Emmanuel Rodriguez, who's in the outfield, Luke Keyshaw, who's a utility player. It says second base, outfield, and first base. That'd be nice. And he's 22, so he might be. Let's see, 23, right-handed pitcher in AAA is Andrew Morris. So we could 24 is a right-handed pitcher, Corey Lewis. He's in AAA, projected to make the major leagues next year.
Okay.
If you just want pitchers, guys, 23, Connor Prilip. He's a lefty. He's in high A right now. So he'd take some development, but I don't know. There you go. Couple of names. The first two guys I mentioned are not Rule 5 eligible. They're the top two prospects in the organization. Keyshaw might be, and he's in AA right now as a utility guy. So, I mean, and obviously you don't know what trades the Guardians could make or what other prospects they want to send up or down, especially if they happen to trade Josh Naylor for what, I don't know, but
that's who I want, Patrick Winkle.
Oh no!
From the
Twins. Is he on
right-handed
the top?
pitcher? I don't know where he's at. I just somebody did an article on the what Twins prospects to protect. Winkle's like the highest rated reliever.
What's his name?
Patrick Winkle. And never mind, he is a shortstop. So I'm reading the entirely wrong thing.
Let me see. Patrick Winkle.
Yeah, he's a shortstop. I'm reading the wrong thing.
Really? Because here it says he's a catcher.
All right. Well, there's multiple Patrick Winkles.
He was. This is the Patrick Winkle in St. Paul. So
maybe not.
Do the Twins have two Patrick Winkles? Is that true? Do the Twins have two Patrick Winkles?
Maybe it's
no. That can't be. Patrick Winkle's a catcher. At least the catcher that I'm seeing.
Here's the pitcher, John Stakaiwitz. 2-5 with a 4.2 ERA. We'll shape him up. He's a tall white reliever.
Dude, if this Patrick Winkle guy is 24, if you want to add to a catching prospect, I mean, listen to these splits here. I mean,
we just stumbled upon a gem,
dude.
Right
220.
Here.
I mean, 228 average over 78 games. Looked like he missed some time this year. Had 100 total bases, 7 home runs, 16 doubles, 38 RBIs. Walk to strikeout ratio was not good, but his OPS 641, defensive metrics. Let me see. His BABIP is good. It's over 300. That's batting average on balls in play.
So we like Patrick Winkle.
We like Patrick Winkle. I just think that's a fun name to say.
We're going Patrick Winkle, Rule 5 draft. Antonetti.
I just think that's a fun name to say. All right, now we got to get into one last rabbit hole. Is there anyone from the Guardians organization that would be on the all-time or I guess all name team for minor league baseball?
For what?
I think Milan Tolentino is an all name guy. Like that is. So you know how they put out like the all name. So someone's whose like actual name is like Speedy Gonzalez, like how they make the all name team.
Yeah.
Who on the Guardians would you put on an all name team?
Guardians or minor league or just both?
Minor league.
A name team. Lavastita's got a good name.
Jake Fox.
Fox isn't bad. Alaska, Abney.
Yeah, Alaska. Yeah, that's a good one, actually. I like Alaska.
Mangus Ellerts isn't bad. Zane Morehouse.
Yeah, Magnus Ellerts. Oh, dude, Magnus Ellerts. What a name, man.
Cody Huff. Not bad. The last name.
Yeah. There's probably some like Central American Latino name as well.
Guy Lipscomb. What a guy. Who named him?
Yeah, what a guy.
You don't see many people with the name Guy. Underrated name.
What do you want your child to be named? I don't know,
Lipscomb.
Guy. Oh, okay, Guy it is.
Guy. Yep, Guy Lipscomb.
If we're gonna go off of all-time nickname, Tugboat.
Yeah.
Okay. I've had my fun, so
Davenport.
we can close out the show whenever. I've had my fun.
Yeah.
Fun little tangent. Anything from the audience before we
We got nothing. Nothing today. So
come on, people. Interaction. No, I'm kidding. It's fine. Not a big deal.
What a way to close it out. 1:30. 1 hour and 30-minute show.
I'm not complaining about that.
90 viewers on the day.
90 viewers for 90 minutes. That's a view a minute. We'll take it. The average is going up. Up.
Next year, we're coming back strong.
Yeah, we are coming back strong. I want 100 people in a live stream next year. Can we do that? Can we make that goal? Can we make that goal for 100 people in a live stream next year?
We're getting it.
Dude, I'm telling you, next year, new logo, new intro. We're coming back strong.
Yep.
We're gonna come back strong.
So, December, are we thinking Rule 5 draft? Come on.
Yep. I think so. We'll see all you fine people in about a month-ish. Let me see here. Rule 5.
It's like December 11th, I think. I just looked it up.
Okay. So before how long does the Rule 5 draft go for?
It's like 40 minutes.
It's a 40-minute draft?
It's quick. I listened to it in school because it starts at like 2.
How could something that big be so quick?
Because that first round, I'm not kidding. Last year, I think 25 teams passed. So that kind of tells you how quick that goes.
Do you only have one pick?
In round 1, yeah, the MLB phase. Well, actually, no, you keep going until you decline. So that's another thing. In the MLB phase, you could have 10 picks if you want. Or you could not pick at all.
So you could just keep picking guys until you decline to pick?
Yeah. So you could take the top 10 dudes on the board if everybody else declines. Yeah.
So here's who the Guardians picked last year.
So almost like an expansion team, kind of.
Okay, wait. So that's the minor league phase. Okay, so there's a major and minor league
phase was Davision, De Los Santos.
Yeah, and a lot of teams declined from the minor league phase. No one took 2 guys from the major league phase. So is the major league phase just one pick then, right? The minor league phase.
It can go for multiple. Just teams normally don't have that 40-man spot because you want to sign free agents and stuff like that.
I thought that was the minor league round, but I guess also the minor league you keep going until you also decline.
Yeah, I think the Rockies had like 8 picks or something like that.
The Marlins and Phillies were the only 2 that made it to round 5 of the minor league system last year. I mean, sure. You know what? Why not? We'll figure out when it is. We'll figure out what's going on. We will do live coverage of the Rule 5 draft.
I like that.
Yep. We have never done a bigger announcement in the history of this show. Live coverage of the Rule 5 draft. It's coming. It's gonna happen. It is absolutely gonna happen. The Rule 5 draft.
We gotta somehow sync the audio in because it's not live stream.
It doesn't say that. That can be copyright stuff. We'll have to play around with that. Maybe we should do our own radio broadcast.
We'll figure something out. We got a month.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I actually don't even have a date in front of me. Like I tried to look up draft date
I think it's December 11th.
Wednesday, December 11th. It starts. 1 second. My God, this article is too long. I don't care. Just tell me when the Rule 5 draft is. Oh my God, it's going through like all the dates and everything's. The Rule 5 draft is the final event of winter meetings at 12 noon Central Standard Time. 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, noon Central. We will be live. We will do live coverage of the Rule 5 draft. We'll talk some ball. We'll interact with you guys. Hey, maybe let's do a little bit of research here. Let's try to get a Rule 5 draft pick that the Guardians had on broadcast. Can we try that? I'm not going to promise that. I'm not going to promise. Cade Smith, perfect guy. Long shot to get Cade Smith, but we'll try it.
He's probably not even eligible, but we'll see.
I mean, we don't want any guy that is eligible. I'm saying we want a guy that got picked from the Rule 5 draft.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about the Yankees, Cade Smith.
No, dude, that would be terrible. I mean, like, we bring Petey Halpin on here. Oh, Petey, you just got taken. Sorry, buddy. I'm not dealing with that.
Wow.
Okay, so December 11th, that's a Wednesday for all you fine people out there. Noon Central Standard Time, which would be 1 o'clock your time. You're not going to school that day, my friend. You're doing live draft coverage of the Rule 5 draft.
Draft coverage, baby. There we go.
You're doing live draft coverage of. All right. That's going to be fun, actually. That's going to be fun. Maybe we'll like plan some games and activities out. We'll see. We'll see.
Make a whole
we might make it like a whole production. So
offer a ton of guys that we have no clue who they are.
Dude, if I have a final during that time, okay, wait. I'm actually going to check if I have a final during that time. Because if I do,
this has gone completely off the rails. But
I'm okay.
No
with
other
that.
way to close it out.
Oh, okay. I do have a final on that day. Oh no. Oh shoot. I also have to do a live podcast that day. Oh no. Oh, the plan is going out the window.
Oh no.
We will figure out some form of Rule 5 coverage and we will broadcast it live to all you fine people. I'll say this right now. The betting favorite, if you were to look at the Vegas odds for what happens, we go live during the Rule 5 draft. That's the favorite right now.
Yeah.
That's the betting favorite. So, okay, we've had our fun. We're joking around here at the end, and it's baseball.
What a season. What a season.
What a season. And I mean, just to round out this episode and sort of round out Cleveland's year, I mean, you take a look at everything that happened this season. Minor leagues, you had 3 teams make it to the playoffs. One of them brought home a championship. Yep. The big league team made the ALCS for the first time since they made the World Series.
Got the number 1 pick for the first time in franchise history.
Yep, and he might make the majors next season. Loaded prospect farm that hopefully doesn't get diminished too much by this so sacred Rule 5 draft.
Have to keep Davenport.
But, I mean, really, what a great season for Guardians baseball, for Clippers, Ducks, Captains, and Hillcats. Great season for baseball. Great season.
100%. Yep.
One quick piece of information before we do go. 13 players have received qualifying offers in the Major League realm. Juan Soto, Corbin Burns, Alex Bregman, Max Fried, Willy Adames, Pete Alonso, Anthony Santander, name to watch in my opinion, Teoscar Hernandez, Nick Pivetta, Christian Walker, Sean Manaea, Luis Severino, and Nick Martinez. All of those guys have received qualifying offers up to this point, which means that they have until 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on November 19th, whether to accept that offer and remain with the team they played with last year or to elect to go to free agency.
Yep.
Okay, next time we will be talking to all you fine people. We'll be live coverage of the Rule 5 draft. Hopefully, if not very shortly thereafter in the Rule 5 draft, we'll be going live at some point Wednesday, December 11th. Stay tuned so you know when.
Yep, next time live show, and then should have some interviews. stacked up
should
throughout the
have some
offseason.
interviews sort of in between
keep
there.
stuff
But
going through the offseason just to, keep baseball fresh. But, should have some interviews, and then Rule 5 draft should be
baseball
next time we're
season
live.
is never too far away, my friend. We're in November right now. I mean, February, we got spring training starting up. Baseball season does not go away for that long.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
Michigan football's been rough.
Well, good luck. Now you guys will make a bowl game this year, but I kind of figured it wasn't going to be that great of a season. I thought it'd be a lot better than it has been, but man, it's you just have no quarterback. But
no, not at all.
Hey, college basketball back though. So while baseball is gone, still got college football. College basketball is finally here. Oh, so happy college basketball is back. But obviously we'll keep all you fine people updated, and we'll have interviews and other thing. Not going to spoil anyone we're thinking of. You'll just have to wait and see. And the next time we will go live will be at some point on Wednesday, December 11th, hopefully when the Rule 5 draft is happening.
And praying to God, we still have Davenport by then. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody.
You got a month. You got a month to sweat that out, buddy.
I do. That's what sucks. It should be right after, so I know what's happening. And yeah.
Well, we won't know what's happening until that fateful day on December 11th. A couple days after my birthday, by the way.
There you go.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
Hopefully for a present, you get Leftwich to a different team. We keep Davenport. Ideal Rule 5 draft right there.
Hey, so my present there would be that somehow the Guardians find a gem, but I guess I won't know what my present holds until 3 or 4, maybe when I can't be Santander 8 years down the line. Close out the show, my friend. We've had our fun. We're going to send the fine people on their way.
Well, had a great season on the show. Yeah. Appreciate everybody that's tuned in, and we will see you on December 11th.
See you on December 11th. Watch out for interviews up until that point.
Yep. Big interviews coming. Appreciate everybody watching.